France to join world leaders in Paris to review and sign a new global financial pact that places vulnerable countries on priority list for support and investment following devastating impact of climate change, energy crisis, and after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The summit, which will be hosted by President Emmanuel Macron of France, will be held at Palais Brungai. The president will participate in the two-day summit running between June 22 and 23 and looks at opportunities to restore fiscal space to countries that face difficult short-term financial challenges, especially the most indebted, mobilize innovative financing for countries vulnerable to climate change, foster development in low-income countries, and encourage investment in green infrastructure for the energy transition in emerging and developing economies. The president will return to Abuja on Saturday. Lawyer to the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, who is in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS, says Kanu requires urgent ear surgery amidst his reported failing health. Michael Zekame, SAN, made this known at the Abuja Federal High Court during the hearing of the case where Kanu is seeking an order granting him unhindered access to his personal doctor. Chung Anamel Joseph now reports.
The senior lawyer stated that the DSS has repeatedly refused to grant Nnamdi Kanu access to his personal doctor and have also refused to release medical records of the pro-Biafra agitator, even after their medical team confirmed the need for his medical attention. Ozekome stressed that the action of the DSS indicates that the service is not willing to allow his clients access to proper medical attention, which is a breach of Section 7 of the Anti-Torture Act. In his reply, DSS lawyer informed the court that Kanu is being given proper feeding and medical attention while in DSS custody and therefore urged the court to dismiss Kanu's case.
So, he's there being tortured, dying by his torments, apart from the ear surgery we are now requesting for. Dying, mentally tortured, physically tortured, spiritually tortured, psychologically tortured, psychically tortured, his humanity being degraded on a daily basis by a federal government that ought to protect its citizens. What has Nnamdi Kanu done wrong? Nothing.
The trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, after listening to the submission, adjourned the suit to July 20th for judgment. Chung Anamel Joseph, Global TV News.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has decorated the acting IGP Egbetoku Olukayode with the rank of Inspector General of Police at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Our correspondent Prince Adegoke has details. Present at the brief ceremony, which took place at 1 p.m. at the Vice President's Conference Hall, were the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, Deputy Chief of Staff, Hassan Ibrahim Adeja, the Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, the new National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and the immediate past IGP, Usman Baba Alkali. After the decoration ceremony, the immediate past IGP, Baba Alkali, said he was happy to be handing over to somebody that will carry the mantle of leadership from where he stopped.
It's a stage. You come, you walk, and you go. I'm happy I'm handing over to somebody I know that will carry the mantle of leadership from where I have stopped. We grew up in the job. We grew up together. I was his boss at the time, not even when I was IG. He worked under me twice. We've been working together, and I know how he can go ahead to champion the cause of the police from where I have stopped.
The new police chief said he feels like a lion ready to devour Nigeria's internal enemies as he prepares to assume office at 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Now I have just been decorated, and I'm looking forward to taking over tomorrow morning by 11 a.m. I really can't describe how I feel presently, but if I have to tell you anything, I will tell you that right now, I feel like a tiger inside of me, ready to chase away all the criminals in Nigeria.
Recall that in 1999, Egbetoku was appointed Chief Security Officer to President Tinubu. when he was Lagos State Governor. The former governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, was at the Makurdi custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission following an invitation yesterday. Former Governor Ortom arrived at the Makurdi Zonal Office of the Anti-Graft Agency located at Alo Gordon Street 10 a.m. yesterday. It was learned that the former governor was invited to be questioned concerning an ongoing investigation into alleged financial misappropriation during his tenure as official of the state. President Bola Tinubu has assured prospective investors in Nigeria that his administration will provide a better business climate for them to thrive. The president made the commitment during an audience with the founder and global chairman of Bharti Airtel, Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal, Africa Group Chief Executive, Mr. Segun Ogunsanya, and their team at the State House in Abuja. Prince Adegoke has details for us.
This country has tremendous future with 220 million people, young people, energetic people. In the next 10 years, you'll be the third largest nation in the world.
While receiving the delegation, President Tinubu recalled his historic connection with the telecommunication company when he started as Econet Wireless while he was governor of Lagos State, stating that he facilitated and supported the entry of the company into Nigeria to liberalize the telecommunication industry. The Nigerian leader praised the growth of the company and welcomed the offer of partnership to further deepen economic growth and eradicate poverty among Nigerians. In his presentation, the billionaire businessman Mittal congratulated President Tinubu and offered him the goodwill of his company and that of his country, India, noting that besides being a businessman and investor in Nigeria, he is a member of the Business Advisory Council of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mittal showered encomiums on President Tinubu for the key decisions he has taken within just 3 weeks in office, which have put Nigeria back on the global business reckoning.
If there is one country in Africa which has the potential to be the next big economic powerhouse, it clearly is Nigeria. That gave me very clearly a very strong reason for us to come and invest in a big way in Africa. And as Sheikhan rightly pointed out of the, at that time, 16 countries, we have sold out 2 countries, Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso. Nigeria was the largest piece. So without Nigeria, it was pointless for us to go into smaller countries next door in Niger, Gabon, Chad. So without Nigeria, our Africa strategy doesn't work because that is the anchor of our Africa strategy. And if you on the path that we have recently seen, floating of Naira, taking fuel subsidy out, organizing your oil production in a better way, I think the future is going to be glorious for this country.
We firmly committed to the growth of Nigeria. We firmly committed to the prosperity of this country. It's a country of 220 million people. And we believe that for Africa to prosper, Nigeria must prosper. And that is why we're here.
Meanwhile, Special Advisor to the President on Monetary Policy, Wale Edun, in his remarks said President Tinubu had always recognized the transformational power of technology and telecommunication for economic growth since his time as governor of Lagos State.
In another engagement, President Bola Tinubu has pledged to give priority attention to the health and safety of Nigerians, noting that for any country to develop, the health of its people, particularly the workforce, is critical. The president spoke when he received in audience the co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates, and president of Aliko Dangote Foundation, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, at the presidential villa in Abuja. Again, let's join Florensho Adegoke for more. President Tinubu said his administration would do all that is required to make their work in Nigeria and Africa successful, particularly in the area of eradicating polio, measles, malaria, and other diseases from the continent. But he warned about the budgetary constraints and other issues around funding. While saluting the courage and commitment of Bill Gates in working for humanity, the president commended the partnership with Aliko Dangote Foundation. He praised Bill Gates' efforts in the area of climate change and in eradicating polio and malaria from Africa.
Hi, how are you? Good. Great to see you. Thanks for being with me. Aliko, good to see you. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Dangote, in his remarks to the media after the visit, congratulated President Tinubu on his election and the successful assumption of office. He said the visit to the villa was to brief the president on the activities of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Aliko Dangote Foundation, highlighting their commitment to improving the health sector in Nigeria.
All is great. Things are, going well. We even congratulated him on the removal of subsidy, and I think he's doing a great job. I expect that it's going to be better for everybody. There will be more money now to put into education, into health, infrastructure, and other areas. And our own side is to help support him to make sure that he achieves his own vision and his goals.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu warned about the budgetary constraints and other issues around funding. The organized labor, inclusive of Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Trade Union Congress TUC, and the federal government have ended their continuous negotiations, which resumed yesterday in the presidential villa Abuja with a resolution to conclude in 8 weeks before implementation. The meeting adjourned with an agreement to put in place the framework of specific demands made by the trade union and the NLC on potential deliverables that will benefit Nigerians. Our correspondent Prince Adegoke has details for us. The presidents of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, and Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Comrades Festus Osifo and Joe Ajaero, said after going through the framework submitted by the federal government, the union will work out modalities of implementation through an instituted presidential steering committee and subcommittees.
There are some technicalities that are required beyond this meeting. So those technicalities will now move into the technical committee. So those technical committee will subsume into the presidential committee. But all these, we must conclude everything maximum in 8 weeks. So those technical committee, some will submit their report in 1 week. Once they submit in 1 week, we implement. Some we submit in 2 weeks, we implement. But the last should not exceed 8 weeks.
As at the end of this meeting, we have set up committees in those key areas to commence work on them to make sure that we wrap up in the next 8 weeks.
On the issue of minimum wage increase, they said the terms of reference, which were not agreed upon, would be looked at within 2 days in line with statutory laws. The special advisor, special duties, communications, and strategy to the president, Dele Alake, said all the parties will continue to interface through the established committee before a final resolution.
Work groups have been constituted at today's meeting. There's a steering committee that will be like a clearing house, and there are other work groups set up comprising both parties, government and labor members. And these work groups will work together very, very harmoniously and very efficiently to arrive at the final resolution of all those demands.
Recall that the organized labor and federal government had met 2 weeks ago in an emergency meeting to avert an impending industrial action following the removal of fuel supply and agreed to reconvene on the 19th of June. President Bola Tinubu has called for a stronger and better cooperation with the United States as Nigeria and the rest of the world move in quest for renewable and other sources of clean energy. He spoke during a meeting with the United States Assistant Secretary of State, Bureau of Energy Resources, Ambassador Geoffrey Prates at the State House in Abuja. This was disclosed in a statement signed by Dele Alake, the Special Advisor to the President on Special Duties, Communications and Strategy. President Tinubu presented his own perspectives to the U.S. delegation on the role of Nigeria as an oil-producing country and the importance of revenue from fossil oil to national economic well-being. The Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, retired Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, has said the agency has cancelled and rehabilitated over 23,000 drug users in 29 months. The NDLEA board stated these at the joint press conference to flag off activities marking the 2023 World Drug Day in Abuja. Kikelamo Okere completes the story.
In a bid to flag off the week-long activities marking the 2023 World Drug Day, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime held this press conference to intimate the public on its efforts to stem the use of drug disorder in the country. The NDLEA boss, who was represented by the agency's secretary, says over 31,000 drug offenders were arrested in the last 29 months.
2.3 million people use drugs, and 1 in every 5 persons who had used drugs in the past is suffering from drug user disorder. In 29 months, we have arrested 31,675 drug offenders, including 35 barons. We have successfully prosecuted and convicted 5,147 of them, and over 11,000 other cases still pending in court nationwide, while 23,725 drug users have been counseled and rehabilitated, majority of them through brief interventions. In the same vein, about 6.3 million kilograms of various illicit substances have been recovered in response to our effort to strip up drugs and shut down distribution channels. We have destroyed 852.142 hectares of cannabis farming and dismantled 3 clandestine methamphetamine laboratories. I can assure you that even as we speak, NDLEA agents are busy with interdiction activities somewhere. However, drug supply reduction is only one of the components of the equation. Another crucial component is drug demand reduction, which operationally means prevention.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime country representative emphasized the need for all stakeholders to use the week in sustaining advocacy across schools as a preventive measure to drug use disorder.
Our children, especially our adolescents, with the necessary skills, life skills, that provide them the skills to withstand temptations of drug use, to handle drug use, to respond to drug use amongst their peers. And we have started, of course, together with the Federal Ministry of Education, with NDLEA and a lot of other partners, to roll out such programs in schools, but we have reached so far only around 100,000 children in school, and obviously there are millions that need to be reached when we're looking at all those that are presently in secondary education. And of course we have also a massive challenge that we're facing with regard to those children that are out of school, which are estimated somewhere around 11 to 12 million at present moment.
The 2023 World Day, which is tagged People First, Stop Stigma and Discrimination, Strengthen Prevention, is in furtherance of the whole of the society approach at taming the drug scourge. Kike Lomo Ukeri, Global Television News, Abuja.
This is Global TV and you're watching the AM News coming to you live on Star Times Channel 276 from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Do well to follow us across all social media platforms at Global TV NG. When we return, banking sector leads stock market gain as Nigerian exchange closes positive. These and more stories coming shortly. Be sure to stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Sunday AM News. Let's take a look at business quickly. Financial services once again led the way as the Nigerian exchange closed on a very positive note with a marginal gain of 8 billion naira for investors. The all-share index went up by 0.02% higher to close at 59,014.85 index points when compared to the 59,000.96 index points recorded in the previous day's trading session. The market capitalization of equities closed at 32.134 trillion naira, indicating a gain of 8 billion naira when compared to the 32.126 trillion naira recorded in the previous trading session. The Nigeria Export Promotion Authority Zones, NEPZA, says there is need to put strategy in place to industrialize the country through free trade economy zones, also known as FTEZ. Managing Director of the authority, Adesoji Adesuba, gave this assertion while reeling out his achievements in office in the last 3 years in Abuja. He said industrialization of the nation will enhance creation of more jobs and boost economic growth. Kikelamo Okere completes the story.
The managing director at NEPZA says goods from Free Trade Zone Economic Zone are being treated like an imported goods in the market because it becomes more competitive in the market arena. Adeshuba stated that Free Trade Economic Zone is capable of industrializing the investment space in the country. He explained that free zones have generated direct employment of over 170 jobs from the Free Trade Economic Zone, which 30 are fully functional.
In this regard, we intend to work very closely with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission in the promotion of the free zones. We intend to continue also to aggressively try as much as possible to increase the number of free zones in Nigeria. To my mind, every senatorial district should have a free zone. We should identify what is best that can be put together in terms of industries. So we have clusters that we can also determine to give them such incentives and give them the license to set up the free zones. And
speaking on efforts made by the authority to promote industrialization, NEPZA boss says the authority have a system in place where it can use stock exchange to raise bonding for some of the companies coming to set up in the free zone, which will be of benefit to Nigeria. He also disclosed that the authority is working with the Central Bank of Nigeria to get an approval for offshore banking process in the free zones.
The FIRS. One will start wondering that what has the FIRS got to do with the free zones, considering the fact that the name itself, free means free of taxation, free of duty, and that's the critical incentive that attracts people to the free zone to do business. Well, we've had a few, the stakeholders generally have had a few disagreements on the way the laws have been interpreted. This called for a general stakeholders meeting at which we all agreed to come up with modalities of engaging the FIRS. It's still a work in progress for us. There's still issues that have not yet been clear that we hope we'll be able to put before the new administration to get a real policy trust. If we want the free zones to work, we must definitely be ready to give the necessary incentives. The incentives package must also be clear, it must not be ambiguous.
The managing director added that the authority has created its online platform and hope to launch it within 100 days in office of the President Tinubu's administration. Kikelamo Okere, Global Television News, Abuja.
And that's a full cycle on the AM News here on Global Television. Thank you so very much for watching. Global Morning begins on a beat. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. Have a great morning.